All right, we are coming back. We're coming back. I'm going to see. I changed a couple things and I shut down Volta. And on my side, it looks like it's happening all right. I hope it's a little bit. Okay. I didn't really do much, but sometimes OBS, when you just shut it down and restart it, is all right. Okay, so if that's much better, we're gonna go ahead. I'm so happy to be back. I'm so grateful to have our guests, and I just wanted to kind of give people a little bit of update on what we are doing and what we have been doing. So if you missed it, we had our very first round of ILBC like a week and a half ago in Bristol at Lost Horizons. It was super crazy. We had 5 contestants. We are also insane, and we had 13 live electronic performers gear on stage at one time. Honestly, it's worth watching back for the stream, even just to watch like the crazy changeovers with Monica and Nathaniel running and like moving keyboards, because pretty much everybody there said it was the craziest gear setup they'd seen. We had even one showcaser who was performing with apples with MIDI sensors hooked up to them. So we had some really cool competitors. We had some really cool showcases. The winner was Ashcat, and we are getting ready for 3 more rounds. So round 2 is going to be August 14th. If you're in the New York area, you can totally come. It's at the Shinos Tech Summit. If you are not, you can log in on stream and watch. It's going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern time, so a little bit late for those of you in Europe, but it's going to be another round of contestants and showcases. After that, we are going to have a completely online round, kind of like in this format. And so after that, we will have 3 round champions, and then we're going to bring back a 4th wild card, which will be somebody from all the other rounds who did not win, but people still favor. The finals are going to be held in Barcelona around September 30th. We're just confirming a venue. And all of those people are going to battle to be the ILBC champion. And what are they going to win? Well, we already have Native Instruments giving us some cool prizes. They've been giving us Complete 13 for the rounds. They're going to probably give us a machine for the grand prize. Ableton will have some prizes. Loop Masters, Audius, Focusrite, and Novation are going to chip in for a controller. We have lots of crazy prizes. So if you are still at all interested in being a competitor, being part of it, reach out. Check out ilbc.tv for more information on the challenges and the competition, and hit us up. And we have a question from a new person, Fairy Dubs, asking what sort of music we're into here. Everything. If you've never joined us on Feedback and Friends, you will hear that we listen to classical, we listen to Broadway, we listen to rhythm. We even listen to all those things combined together, although sometimes there are genres that should not be combined, but we're willing to try all of them out. So let's get going. Right up, I think we've started off the evening with, we have a donation, but I don't know if it's from last time. So I'm going to just assume that we've got Bako Bibizo up first. Is that right, Natty? Oh, cool. Well, thank you very much. Does he have any feedback of what he wants to hear or about his song? Oh, sorry.
Okay, am I unmuted?
Yeah,
it's
my,
okay.
my stream deck is being weird. Sorry.
So, I will read their comment out. The other bits you missed, guys, doesn't matter too much. It was just admin stuff. I submitted this song before, and everyone said it was too mono. Well, I printed it in mono, so he rendered it in mono. That explains that. Here is the reworked track, and I've also tightened the low end and remixed it. So there we go. It should be all around an improvement. Let's go.
All right, let us go. Feedback and Friends.
And thank you for your Twitch subscription. We love you.
Whew, all right, nice start from Baco Babizo. Really, actually enjoyed that. It was good vibes to start the day. I'm gonna let our guest go first. Mouldy Soul. How did you think of
Oh
that?
my god.
Way.
Okay, so I think it's got a really nice vibe. I think it's poppy, it's radio worthy. It sounds like a good tune that you'd hear on the radio. The vocal, there's one of the female vocals, just little nitpicking, is like when that female vocal came in, I thought it was just a little bit too forward, and it's just a little bit too forward in the mix. And there was that one little transition bit where it kind of just stopped and then just went into it. And I feel like you could have either prepared that a little bit more, gave the listener a bit more warning that there was going to be some sort of dropout or little switch, like so reverse reverb or some sort of comb filtering going down to like sort of prepare, and then a little splash to like prepare you into the next section. But all around, I think it's a really good track. I thought it was cracking. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I felt that way, like in general, that there was a lack of glue, and this is like something that's very common in whips. But I think texture-wise, it's sort of like if you can hear and listen and go, oh, that synth line sounds like it's from one place, and the vocal sounds like it's from another place, and the drums sound like they're from another place. If your ears are sort of telling you that, it means that there needs to be some cohesion. And again, like I said, if it's a whip, you may not have got to the stage yet, but a little bit of like bus effects, sends, things that can sort of unify elements together in the space. Let me turn my mic up if it's still quiet. All right, there, now you can hear my fan. I refuse to turn it off. It's like an inferno in here, and this is the first time I've had AC in my studio. I could weep. But yeah, I was just saying, like pulling stuff together and having that glue with bus and sound effects is a really important stage when you are using samples or synths that are from random places, which is almost always the case when you're making electronic music, because if you're with a band, you're probably recording that in one room, and it actually is a physical thing that happens. But when you're making synths, you can put the sound out of anywhere, so you have to make it fit into place. So that was the biggest thing for me. I was just hearing things in different spaces. What about you, Natty?
I mean, I think as well that there was comments about the vocal chops being a little bit off. I think what makes them difficult, I mean, not only just with stereo spacing and general volume, is they're very, very vibrato heavy. And because they still sound superhuman, like, they sound organic, it makes it sound alien because nobody can create a vibrato in that way and transition into the next loop, into the next loop, into the next loop. It's really like impossible effectively. So if you want to keep that effect, I'd say you got to like effectively dehumanize your vocals a bit more, like make them sound more weird, maybe more spacey, washed out perhaps. I don't know, something to sort of take away from the idea that it's meant to be a person singing it, because the closer you get to sounding like an actual person, even with samples, the more like you have to be finicky with placement for a start, because I mean, like, real people have to breathe. They can't enunciate the same way all the time. Like, you're gonna, if you want to stick with that, you're gonna have to space out your chops a bit more, I think. And you're also maybe gonna have to create lots of little micro variations in that vocal. Go in with a volume shaper of some kind and scoop bits in and out, because a human voice just isn't that repetitive and perfect.
Do you mean ear candy?
Ear candy.
First track, guys, come on.
Go. sorry. Yeah. There's no chill at all. Well, good start to the day. Good to have you all here. Next up, we have Evie Dorbella. Is this a new alias, new project?
It is indeed.
Do you have any backstory on this, Natty?
I actually don't. This is a mystery to me.
All
It
right.
just sort of happened, and I'm like, okay,
Let's
go.
Evie.
We love you,
Is there
Evie.
a war in your mind? You just can't decide to be by my side. This isn't good for me. It never was before. You always leave me wanting more. Is there a war in your mind? You just can't decide can't decide to be by my side. This isn't good for me. It never was before. You always leave me wanting more.
You always leave me wanting more.
Said the lead synth I think could use a bit more sculpting, maybe to make it a bit more interesting, but like these are just tiny nitpicky. What do you think, Mouldy?
I think, yeah, that point about the lead, it kind of sounds in the distance, but I kind of like it there. I really like the kind of the contrast between the sizes of the sounds, and I feel like, you know, if it wants more sculpting, maybe like just bring it a bit more close over time, just before that build up, just so it feels like it's coming towards you, and then like release back into something a little bit more softer. But also in the last section, it just wants to be a little bit more like percussive, like development. There wants to be some shakers on 16ths, like just to give it a bit more like sort of white noise energy sort of thing. It's just such an easy thing to give like a track, especially in these techno sort of things. Once you drop, you just kind of want that energy to sustain for a bit, and I feel like that's very easy to do if you just chuck in loads of white noise and just like, you know, have like little white noise shakers or something that's building up. Like I can for some reason like the white noise element of like techno and stuff really conveys a bit more like energy to me, like when, especially on the dance floor, it's like you kind of fizzles, like, so I kind of want a bit more of that in the last like section, so you're like really exaggerating the drums and sort of building up on that sort of driving aspect of the track. But I thought it was amazing. It's quality production, absolutely perfect or overall. Like,
Natty?
I mean, the opinion, everyone's got a mixed opinion on the lead synth. I mean, I kind of agree that with 2IQ Dog that it sounds kind of cheap. Not necessarily meh, I kind of like those sort of artificial brass sounds. I think that, I mean, personally, especially since I'm a fan of very old digital synths, it's like that kind of vibe, where it's being played on some sort of old school 90s Casio keyboard. And that can, you know, that's, I don't necessarily say good or bad, it's basically a choice of whether you're wanting to reference that sort of old school era or be current. And if you want to be old school, then go for it. It sounds cool. For me, structurally, the bit that didn't work for me in this track was that clap build-up. I mean, mainly because everything else sounds so lush and like, you know, well spaced out, and the claps themselves are sort of flat. And I think it would maybe be good to experiment with how you process them if you really do want the claps. Just to sort of have them drift out into the space a bit more as they build up. Maybe even combine that with Mouldy's suggestion of adding more white noise textural elements, where you can have a really subtle white noise thing sidechained to your clap. So it's like clap, but really, really subtle. Like you just low-key, yeah, breathing in and out. Exactly. And I mean, I think that would sort of help it fit in with the smoothness and silkiness of everything else.
And by the way, for those of you who get like bored of white noise risers, there's no shame in using your mouth on a microphone. I have totally done this. I've done all kinds of stuff. And then sometimes that's really fun too, because you can record that as audio and, then mess around with it, like warp it, create aliasing, create weird stuff, gate it. Like you don't have to just, like white noises are easy because you can just EQ them off and then there's always a layer that sits on top, right? Like other sounds can be hard because of more frequency nuance. But anything can be made into a riser or an energy lifter. It's kind of like that going up feeling. So I would encourage you to mess around. Yeah.
The favourite thing to do with white noise risers for me is slap a comb delay on it, and just as it's coming down, just like modulate the comb, like the frequency of the comb delay, so you get that kind of the two movements of like the comb delay going and the white noise as well. So it just sounds like it gives you a real interesting sense of space. Absolutely love comb delay on white noise.
Oh, good tip. I always forget about comb filters and stuff like that. Sweet.
Evie loves comb filters. So I mean that's going to be a solid recommendation, I think, for her.
We should talk about comb filters and plug-in of the week or something. Next up, I'm taking suggestions, by the way. I've just been like seat of my pants, getting my setup ready, blah, blah, blah. What do you mean, Alicia's exclusive pack when? I've had it on Splice for like the last 4 years. There actually are sounds all from my mouth that are notes, instruments. I hate to shill, but la la la. Anyways, we're gonna move on to Voxsend. If you have plugin of the week suggestions, if I have it on my computer, I will totally whip it out and we will demo and stuff like that. Let's go with Voxsend. Is there any subtext to this track, Natty?
Made this track in 2 days. Did it just for fun, but it seems cool, so I'll take any feedback you have on my first hardstyle hard trance track. Experimenting with mixing and mastering process, so feedback on that would be most helpful.
All right. Like a sausage factory and a half, my friend. As people are saying in the chat, very, very squished, very sausage party. No one likes a sausage party. I mean, it depends, actually. I mean, Spain has some really good sausages. We have like sobrasada, and we have like longaniza, and like I actually do I actually really do enjoy. My mic is really that quiet. It's like so loud to me. It's like almost clipping. So let me see if maybe it's no. I'm at 0. Um, I don't know what to do. Now I can hear my full AC. But yeah, I would say the track needs to breathe. Like it is like, especially with hard style where it's just like that boom, 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 boom. It's like it's fighting to get outside of a box, you know? It's like you have the track locked in a little box and it's like going against the walls, but it's not making an impact because it's trapped in this little box. So I think, first ease off the compression. One trick that I heard from my friend Ahi, if you might know him, he's got a really cool YouTube channel, is doing this sort of like levels of bus compression. Like actually, and this is it doesn't work for all music, but it works for hard music like this, where you actually have like your drum bus, you have your bass bus, you group bus them, and then you put different layers of compression, maybe even on just the kick and snare first. It's almost like individual compression, but on layers of buses. So like kick and snare compression, whole drums compression, bass compression, like really compress each element separately instead of just like squashing the master, because right now it sounds super squashed and it's hard for me to figure anything else out. Mouldy Soul, do you like sausage parties?
Yeah, occasionally actually. But I mean, here I just found it. It felt like everything had distortion on it. Like there wasn't a contrast between some of the sounds because it sounded like everything was distorted in that same sort of thing. It had some really cool ideas in it. It doesn't, the sausage doesn't take away from the cool ideas. Like there's some really interesting sound design bits going on. And I think with a bit of polish, it could be an actual, slapping hard style track. But I think it seemed to me like it was cut a little bit too high. And there wasn't actually a bass in there. There wasn't actually a solid sub line in the bottom. It just felt like it was cut off too high to me. That's probably my main bit of feedback for that track. Yeah.
Natty?
I mean, it is possible to get away with a track where it's all distorted. But I think that the trick here is if you are going to do that, use different types of distortion across the structure of your track. I mean, it's using like, I don't know, I like using Trash 2 right now for messing around with just weird sounds and whatnot, because it just does all sorts of strange stuff. But one of the really cool things about it is that you can basically automate everything within it against other parameters, which is cool. But also it has all these different emulated cab pickups and that kind of stuff, like, just lots of different algorithmic approaches to distortion, so that if I really wanted to, I could have effectively the same setup, but a slightly different tonality in each section, just by turning a few things on or off. And I think, because you can choose distortion as the character of the track, that's fine. But you can make it more intentional and add the variation by changing which distortion algorithm you're using in your build-ups, in your choruses, and in your verses, breakdown bits.
Can I just say one more thing? I'd suggest stacking distortion as well instead of trying to rely on one distortion to do all of the work for you. If you've got that distorted sound in your mind, I often find it's better just slightly distorting at a time and building it up gradually instead of just going full on one plugin. And I think that applies to gain structure as well. So you're not relying, going hard into one limiter, but spreading it out across a couple of different limiters can help alleviate some of that sort of pumping and crunching that some of the limiters do. So if you're not driving them so hard into each one, you can end up stacking a little bit more and they sound a little bit more natural.
Yeah, that's the one. Sorry, it confused me for a second there too, actually. Yep. Hello, this is the almost final mix master of this project. I'm not 100% satisfied, but I think I've exhausted my abilities. I would like general feedback on the mixing, mastering. Is the high-end snare too harsh? And if anything stands out as just blatantly bad in that regard. But more importantly, I would like to hear your subjective impressions. So obviously not looking for answers to all of these questions, but what I'm talking about are like, are the musical ideas interesting? What does the song evoke, if anything? Does it sound more unique or more familiar played out? Do the track name, artwork, artist name and sound all feel like they belong together? Does anything sound cheesy, mediocre, contrived? Am I good enough? Well, I can tell you that one. You are good enough. You will always be good enough.
Wow.
Will I ever be?
Aw, of
And
course.
thanks so much for your feedback. I really appreciate it. Also, thank you, Sleepy Muse, because you're like super donated to us on Streamlabs, so we really appreciate you, and that means you'll get Uber Deluxe feedback today.
Uber Deluxe feedback.
Uber Deluxe.
All right.
So Snow Moon.
It's funny because the people who are usually so worried about being cheesy and this and that, like they'll get really obsessed with it, but they're often not the ones who have to worry. Like usually the people who are totally cheesy are the totally oblivious, like Dunning-Kruger style people that have no idea, that are like, I just made my first track, it's so dope, it sounds like Kygo, oh my god. And like those are the people who need to be told how cheesy they are. It's never the people who ask. So I mean, definitely the opposite of cheesy. I thought that was like really classic and nostalgic, but like clean as well. So not like nostalgic in a does not have production technology way, because that's a really tricky balance, right? Like you want to sort of give nods to old techniques and genres, but you don't want stuff to sound limited in the way that it was back then. but limited. So I really liked it. I think, as Evelyn said, it was a little bit fizzy. Like there was a lot of upper information, and I am wearing headphones that accentuate that, like for sure. So if it sounds sizzly, it sounds super sizzly here. So I would say, yeah, just maybe work on the upper end of your mix. And then also, like, right now, this is a really good backgroundy track, which is not a bad thing, right? This is something that you could license to a movie or a commercial. I do feel like if you're trying to make it sort of a center of attention track, it could use maybe a section or something with a slightly different upper element. And this is just, again, my 2 cents, but I think it's perfect the way it is if it's supposed to be a chill track that doesn't take the center of attention. And believe me, you can actually make a lot more money with tracks like that these days. However, if like I said, if you're trying to make it the center, I would have a little like high element, obviously watching that 8 to 10 kilohertz like Evelyn was saying, but just something to give it a section that goes a little bit different or elevated. What do you think, Natty?
I mean, I've heard this before, I'm pretty sure, and it was cool the first time I heard it, and it's still cool. So, I mean, as far as what it evokes, I mean, it's definitely a nighttime track. This isn't a blazing sun down the beach track. It's maybe I'm on a bus ride home or driving out, like, sort of track, you know, or I play, I don't know, Forza to this. You know, it's that kind of, things are slightly up tempo, but you're not stressed. You're still kind of just chilling, and you're just drifting around those corners, and that's all fun. I mean, as far as whether it's, I mean, I agree, it's very backgroundy. But I mean, there's plenty of room in the world for backgroundy tracks, especially in the sort of, well, I mean, it's kind of garagey in places, a little bit trancey. That's that sort of corner. There's, you know, a lot of room for vibe, and this is very vibey.
Pro tip, years
Vibe.
later, when you're tired of all your tracks, just take the drums out and just leave like the pads and stuff and put them out as ambient yoga things. I swear to God, people will stream your shit for hours. Like it is unreal. I'm not, no joke, I have friends who did that. They just took their whole catalog, maybe slowed it down a bit, go in with some Paul stretch, you know, just like you could even just do that. Just take your own voice and just stretch it out to like 32 minutes long and put it up on Spotify as a chill ambient playlist. Probably more money than regular streaming. Mouldy Soul, what do you think?
I really liked it. I thought it was really atmospheric, and like I said in the chat, it was kind of reminds me of trancey break beats. It has this kind of almost hypnotizing quality to it, and I can hum the melody. I don't have like a great attention span, but I can still remember that melody. So it's like, it's not cheesy. It's singable and memorable, so it's good. It's just a sign of a good, like, well composed melody, and the way the track progressed as well and built upon that, it was really classy. I thought it was absolutely amazing. To talk about the little high end fizz stuff, there's a plugin called Soothe that like is literally a lifesaver for this stuff. You just slap it on. It's basically a dynamic EQ type thing that just automatically takes out the harsh frequencies. So I think just like lightly peppering that around on some of the sounds like would be, you know, would give the rest of the track like a little bit more room to breathe, and give it a bit more intelligence. So yeah, that's basically it. That's what I was thinking. It evoked like a really sort of, I don't know, it's like this flow sort of meditative state. Like I really, really enjoy it. I really love that kind of ambient sort of vibe. Like I would listen to it, I would follow you. Perfect, mate. Sorted.
Yes.
Yes, perfect.
And I said, are you good enough? Yes, you're always good enough.
Yeah, and you know what? We are all good enough just as we are. And, you know, without getting too esoteric for too long, somebody did say this to me once when I was having my usual spaz. Like, I'm a total type A, like, productivity obsessive workaholic. And they were just like, you know, not to depress you, but when your life ends, it will have the exact same meaning as if you just sat there doing nothing. Like, technically, none of us matter. We could stare at a wall or a rock. We could breathe or not, and our lives end. And no matter what, if you do nothing or if you do everything, it is the same result. And I was like, oh, Thanks. And it was a little depressing, and at the same time, it's like we are all good enough, and we've created this system of measuring and evaluating each other to make things matter. So I think the upside of that is you are the domain, you have your own brain, it's your world. You are kind of the god of your own mind, right? So you can decide what matters or what doesn't. Do not make fun of me, Zavi. Jeffrey, MMVI, what's up? So good to see you. Yeah, I'm dying. I love you all. So good to be here. And again, let me just keep. What else do I have here? So yeah, I have my old decks from when I was 14. I have my mannequin. She doesn't have a name. She's been sitting here nameless, neglected in storage. I'm a jerk. I'm really
Can we have a
sorry.
competition?
We could.
An ILBC naming competition.
Name the mannequin. She's a big fan, as you can see. She's wearing my merch. I also have my micro cord, really old, and then I have a bunch of guitars, but they're on this side and you can't see them, so I'll show you later. Next up, we have a track called "Bouncy Castle." Is that right? Like we have all these
yes.
artists and track names that are like, and the artist is Kaleidoscope Queen. I mean,
Yep.
I already like it just because of the name, not gonna lie. Short comment. What was the short comment?
I'm new to music production, so all and any advice would be appreciated. However, I'm specifically looking for advice in regards to mixing and mastering and sound design. How is the overall feel of the song? Is the bass and lead line working well together?
All right, let's check it out. Oh,
Yeah.
I was caught by surprise. That was very short, but honestly, I'm really impressed. It doesn't sound to me like you're new to music production. What do you think, Mouldy Soul?
I thought that's great. I thought there's some really interesting ideas in there, like that sort of energetic house sort of thing. That sort of elements of complex electro sort of chucked into house music. I thought it was really, really cool. Really, yeah, really fresh. Really, really interesting. There's not really much I can say about like the production because I would have been happy to make that. Like, sorry.
I mean, I'm very curious about whether the vocal in the start was vocoded originally, as because always a sample from somewhere. But like, or whether it was vocoded by the person making it. I mean, if you're in a chat, I'd love to know because I mean, I remember when I started, I never touched vocoders at all. My processing chain was just non-existent at that point. And I mean, obviously with this one, it's unfinished. It just sort of gets to the first drop and then stops. If you were to work your way up to a second drop, you'd obviously have to work out a way if you want to keep the character of this future bounce thing going on. Bouncy Castle is definitely an apt name in that context. And you'd want to find a way to vary those bass stabs, maybe even have them blur into each other a bit with a portamento automated in, so it's like boom, 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 you know, something like that. You can kind of keep the same idea going, but just shake it up a little bit. And that could be cool. I mean, if you are in the chat as well, I mean, I'll see if I can. I don't know what was your Twitch username again? Yep. Bulgogi.
Bulgogi. That's one of my favorite dishes.
Bulgogi. What is that? Is that like? Is that a Korean dish?
Yeah,
or something?
it's like barbecue. It's really.
That's it. Yeah.
It's everyone with the food names. We love the food names and the
hungry.
foods.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, I mean, my
Cod.
I don't really have much to add to that either, except like just keep making more tunes, keep extending that, because like I'm honestly really impressed. Like my first track did not sound like that. My first track sounded like poo, still does, and it's still like circling around the internet.
If I can give like one piece of advice to this person that just made some music, like just try and finish off that track. Try and get it to like a reasonable length because it's got some real solid ideas in it. If you can get it to like a 3-4 minute mark, then that's like, you know, that's the next stage in your progression. Like trying to get that whole entire arrangement and a flow and another drop and keep that sort of energy without just being, you know, going into repetition sort of thing. Just carry on with it. Go for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, carry on with it. Go for it. People are saying,
And come back and share more.
yes, pitch bends, use dynamics. These are all really, really good tips. So I would try all of those things, and just congratulations. Like, sounds amazing. It really does. Next up, we have Caleb Daggers. Does Caleb have anything specific to say to us?
He does indeed, seeking mixing guidance, but open to other suggestions as well. Immense thanks for hosting these live streaming live events and all that you guys do for the EDM community. Question for everyone on the stream. In the context of mixing, when would it be more advantageous to use headphones in the place of studio monitors? And this song is called FL Studio E 138 BPM ID.
Great title. First of all, your titles are fabulous. You should like name paint colors or something, man. Like, this is a talent. You should really explore that. The rest of it, we will let you know.
Oh, yeah.
pads are definitely better than your track names. No, I like this whole idea. I think it's super sweet, and it's got a nice roundness. However, now that it's so smooth and round, I think you have to edge it up, give it some teeth a little bit. And when I say give it some teeth, that usually means distortion, right? And I think that there's a few different ways that you could apply this. Like, I'm not saying make the whole thing distorted, right? But that's the thing, like distortion should not technically sound super distorted if you do it right. It should give it definition, it should give it character, give it timbre. And right now you have all these soft, lovely sounds that aren't really standing out against it all. So, I would try a couple things. One of them is, if you haven't tried Minimal Audio Rift or Output Thermal, these are both, they're not free plugins, I apologize, I like to promote free ones, but they are really creative distortion plugins that have like modulation built into them, like LFOs and delays and reverbs and other effects. So you could really use something like that maybe on your like pads. So instead of just going dun 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 dun, they could sort of filter in and out with little edges of distortion to give it an envelope or give it a textural variation, right? And then something about the drums, they're kind of good and they're kind of not 100% making it in the right place for me. I can't put my finger on it, but I would say, I don't know. I'll see if anyone else has any ideas, but for me, it's like they didn't come through as defined in the right way that I wanted to hear them with this style. What do you think, Mouldy Soul?
I think the production is actually really tight. I think it sounds like it's the actual ideas. There's so many ideas. I think that's what's hard with a track like this. Like, I don't even know what to listen to, or I can't really remember a lot because I got to an oversaturation point with ideas, which can be a good thing, but like it started just being like, I can't remember all of this. I don't have like capacity to remember all of it. But the sound design themselves, the sounds of all the sounds sound really nice, really clear, really crisp. There was like the piano started like grating on me after a while. Like, I just wanted there to be some sort of variation in that sound, and either like kind of twist it into more of a synthetic sort of sound to sort of complement the rest of the sounds in your mix, or try and like make like date the sound. There's this really good plugin called RC20 or something like this, Retro Color or something like this. And that is absolutely amazing on pianos. Like, it just gives them a sort of a life, and it gives them a date and just puts them in space. And like, you start thinking that's more of a sample than you've just sort of done it on a MIDI sort of piano sort of thing. That's sort of my generic feedback there. Sorry.
Generic feedback. Sorry. No,
Sorry.
I don't think so at all. Natty, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I have at least a little bit of a suggestion of what one area you might dirty it up a little bit. Right now, your piano is occupying a lot of the mid and upper range of your frequency spectrum, but means you've also kind of just left the entire bass range on the piano empty. If you start playing about with bass notes in the piano and you use your expression pedal function, so you can automate that in MIDI too. It's kind of fun, especially with plugins like, I don't know, N90 Instruments to Giant or whatever. You can actually automate it so you can dampen down the quality of the sound, and you can have it so it sustains more and all that kind of fun stuff with like how a real piano works. So you can create this sort of low rumbly ambience, and as long as you're sidechaining things like your kick and your snare to it, it can still keep out of the way of those sounds. Or I don't know, using something like TDR Nova multiband EQ kind of dynamic kind of thing.
We need an emoji for that.
We need a TDR Nova emote, yeah. Just you can nudge other things out of the way, because obviously that's a very difficult frequency spectrum to work like with those sort of lower bass piano notes. But fuzz them up a little bit, and there you have your subtle, distorted, saturated kind of sound that doesn't take away from what you're trying to do here, and already fits with the sounds you've already added. It's kind of just another aspect of that piano. And I think that would add that little bit of crunch or edge to it, perhaps, in the, like, just fairly subtle, like nothing too front. Keep it to the back.
Yeah, all good suggestions. Maybe we'll play with the RC20. We'll play with a few like distortion character things in a bit when we do plug-in of the week, where we get to find out if this whole setup will collapse if I open Ableton. But it should not. I did buy a new laptop for a reason, and really, it's just, streaming is a crazy thing because you can have the exact same setup, but as soon as you change one thing, like where you are, big internet connection, just like it's a domino effect. So thanks for being patient today. I think we're in full quality now and everything's working. I don't want to jinx it. I'm going to knock on laminate desk, because I don't believe in wood. That would be superstitious. Next up, we have Salvati. Good to have you back, Salvati. Is there a statement to go with this?
Mixing. And then a little emote.
Mixing.
I think
All
it's
right.
crying.
Noted.
What will he say when he's run out of words to come up with? And every damn rhyme is a poem that he's tried this before. And if just for a moment a melody flees from the scene, then I'll see my world if I paint all the skies when I sing. Ooh, it wasn't all that hard. Just have to follow up my heart. Ooh, turn me into what I used to be. But I guess it wasn't part of me. And what will he do when his world starts to fall apart? And he tries to remember by turning it all into art. And his mother will cry when he leaves all he's known behind. Bound by the soul, but never quite right in the mind. If I'm to be so afraid to run away from what you made for me, the sun will show you my face. So take the plunge or go away. We started on land and we started to grow, and now you're my ever and I can't let go. My heart on my sleeve, my soul in a song, and if he keeps singing he'll piss himself off. You gotta be so afraid to make it by in this place. But I'm stopping myself from being myself, and I'm stopping myself from stopping myself yet again. You said, and if being yourself was always enough, then where did we lose that? Am I out of touch? You swore it was better, but better was always too much. If I'm to be so afraid to leave behind the place you made for me, I'll ask for one last embrace. So take the chance or look away. Set to
So usually
my
we don't let the
God.
whole track play, and like if you know, because of time and stuff. But Salvati is a super long time supporter, and also Salvati has so many crazy ideas that like each part of the track is almost like a different track. But I gotta say, I've been listening to your stuff. I mean, you've been around since the beginning, and that is like one of the best mixes I've heard yet. I mean, like obviously you have a lot going on, so mixing is always going to be a very like you're going to be on like mix 54 underscore B underscore final really final this time. You're going to be one of those people. I am too. But it was like the most balanced I've heard yet. Like I could hear every element. And I think that for the most part, even the different ideas in the first and second half worked really great. I do think in the middle, when the chat was like, did the stream lag? Did it drop? I think it got a little weirder than it needed to get. And it kind of was a little bit distracting. Because like, you know, maybe it's kind of cool to make people be like, was that the CD skipping? But you have so many other ideas in this track that I want people to be focused on the core, you know, like you have such a really, really good core idea that it would be a shame for people to just be like, is something wrong with the drums? And like, you know, so just, I would just take that part out and just, you have so much going on already. I think you have a beautiful, complete track that makes you listen all the way through, as I did. I couldn't even talk till the end because you kept doing really interesting stuff, really cool sounds, and I really loved it. I loved the ending too. So, Mouldy Soul.
Ear candy, absolute ear candy the whole way through. That was amazing. I've never heard so much ear candy in a track. That was great. It was like hyperpop, like I don't know, listenable hyperpop. That's how I'll put it.
You don't like hyperpop, huh?
Like he's taken the best bits of hyperpop and he's fused them with like the your kind of singer-songwriter stuff, and it's really clever. It's really interesting. I love all the glitchy details. I love like the background sounds, the atmospheric. There was that bit in the middle, and I was like trying to work out what was going on as well. And I think it was like there's the bass that wants to like be this pounding thing, and it's got this effect on it that might be a comb filter or some sort of thing that's making it wobble, that's detracting it. And then you've got these like little glitchy elements that are sort of taking away from that pulsation. So either just stick to like an idea and go like, right, this is going to be like pulsating, and then do random glitch over it, or like just nail that sort of like rhythmic feeling and then really play around with the glitch. Like, but there's something about it, they're not kind of gluing together, and it just feels like they're rhythmically sort of competing. But I really loved this section, one of the last sections. I think you went into triplets or something, and I was like counting 1 2 3 1 2 3. It's like, that's so clever, this is brilliant. Like, so the arrangement, like the structure of your song is just, it's properly class, man. It's wicked, absolutely amazing.
Yes. Natty.
I mean, for me, I think that the hard part with that middle bit that everyone's commenting on is the fact that you're trying to get us to listen to your words at the same time as having all the crazy sound design in the back. And, I mean, I think you can get away with it, but rather than having it constantly getting weird and glitchy, have it so it's like, at the end of every second bar, the last beat, it goes super glitchy. Or, you know, either every bar, every second bar, or every four, you know, just come with something, keep it regular as that section progresses, where you get weird and glitchy, but it's always after you've said the bits you're trying to say before you move on to the next line. So, you know, something, I don't know, a bit like Complextro. I mean, Complextro is still a very 4 on the floor genre.
Is Complextro still a thing?
No, but I mean, like, as an example of something that, as an example of something that sort of like, interrupts itself. I think it's a good way to, you know, it still sticks to that really solid 4 on the floor kick snare kind of thing, but then it just every so often throws in a crazy fill, because that's what they are. They're just really insane fills.
I kind of read your comment as, or what you just said, as sort of that tension and release that you can have with, like, you know, the 5 and the 1 chord. You always go back to home. So, like, your home is, like, you know, your solid bit of the track. And then you go to the tension bit, you know, your 5 chord, which is your weird glitchy thing. And then it resolves back into something that is like, exactly. The listener is just, you know, eased on through into it. So it's not too disjarring, but maybe that's what he wants to go for, and in that case it's fine. Like, it's that kind of quirky sort of glitchy thing that's really unique. Like, that's his style. Like, just go for it.
It's definitely been a pleasure watching Salvati get more confident with his vocals. That's something as well over the last couple of years.
Absolutely. Well, I loved it. I loved every part of it. I think that like you're just going in the right direction. You're going to be a star. And I would also just recommend that you do you section off those styles and you do like club mixes. Do like a dance mix of one that just stays on the same beat and is like a good dance floor jam and has your vocal on it, and you'll get DJs playing your stuff to promote your actual original cool ideas. So I would like use the diverse amount of elements you have to get a bunch of different style remixes, because the thing is a lot of people do like to stay in their lane, especially when they're like DJing. So you have a mix for them, and then you have like the original mix, which is like so cool. And then people will come from different ends that have heard different versions of your song, and you'll get this like overlapping fan base, which you really deserve. So love it. Super cool. If you're just tuning in for the first time, we are ILBC, the International Live Beat Channel. We are a community project started to further education and entertainment, specifically for live electronic music performance, but expanding into production, self-care advice, whatever. We plan to do streams on all kinds of things. Our next live ILBC round is August 14th. August 14th, it's going to be at the Berkeley Power Station in New York City at the She Knows Tech Summit, which is for women and non-binary producers. So there's a lot of cool talks. Anybody, basically anybody can watch on stream, or it's going to be happening live. If you're in New York, you can get tickets. After that, we have an online round, and then the finals are going to be in Barcelona the last week of September. So next up, we have Load Us, I think is the artist name. Is there any requests on that one?
Feedback on the mix would be helpful, but any feedback is appreciated.
Any feedback is appreciated. Okay, let's check it out. It's called Neon Fights. I love the dynamics of it. You can even see like there's breathing, there's pulsing. Like, it's a really important thing. I think what I call the push and pull. Like when the track makes you want to move a certain way. It's so cool. Yeah, I think as others said, maybe the sub is a bit too prominent, but more than that, there seems to be a little bit of like hollow mid, low mid resonance, and I think that if you go through and you notch that a little bit and clean it up, it'll tighten the mix just a little bit, because I think there's a little bit of resonant bleed, and it could just be something about the bass, but I think just going in with a fine-toothed comb, pun intended, going in and just narrowing down the resonance problems will just tighten it up. And it could also be with the reverb. Make sure that you're EQing your reverb. That's really important. Sometimes people forget to do that because there can be like low-end resonance that you don't want to get in there. So that would be my advice. But a solid track. I really enjoyed it. Total banger. Mouldy Soul.
That was like a neoclassical glitch hop, or neoclassical glitch for me. It was amazing. It was some really nice textures, some really clever compositional stuff in there. Like, I loved the melodies, I loved how it progressed. There was one bit in the middle, like, where it sort of dropped out before it came back in, and I think there was like because I don't have the timestamp or anything, I think there was like a chromatic bass line going down. Like, what I kind of wanted was like some sort of Foley or white noise to like just take up a bit more of the space, like to give a sense of ambient, or like push it out into stereo before you kind of go back into that last really interesting drop where it's kind of a little bit more centered. So yeah, just like, can you exaggerate the sense of space before you like come back into the track? That's what I would really like. But I thought it was an amazing track. I thought it was wicked. I'd listen to that. I'd give you a follow, definitely.
Nat?
So, I mean, not only was the sub very, very loud, I also felt like whatever way you've made the sound right now, the fundamental of it doesn't actually match the key of the track in all the notes it's playing. And usually that just means you have to maybe split your sub a little bit into sort of amplify the bit that sounds like the note you actually want and leave the rest as sort of more hinted subharmonics, because, I mean, it'll make it especially sound weird on lousy speaker systems.
I think he might be trying to do some sort of jazz arrangement type thing, and like it kind of comes across as neoclassical because you're doing the chromatic down. Maybe that's what you're picking up in like the sort of out of tuneness, because I think there's a lot of like arpeggios, and I think when the arpeggios are playing, like that's like it's the right bass note for that arpeggio, but I think because you're not hearing it as a chord, like you're hearing it as a spread out bunch of notes, so you haven't got the same context as just listening to like the root note with like a set of notes over it.
I mean, it's mainly just in that static sub bass that I'm having the problem. So it's
really?
just sort of like, yeah, it's just it's mainly the just the lowest note in the whole thing, where it just sort of sounds a little bit off.
Okay, maybe my headphones are not picking that up then, right?
I don't know. I mean, these ones are actually quite good for sub bass considering, but it's just something that I'd feel like take a look at your sub sound design just a little bit and see if there's any way you can sort of stack the layers of another, like duplicate the layer patch, and maybe see if you can parallel process it in a way that boosts the higher end frequencies of it, because that's the stuff that's perceived as notes more than the.
Well, sometimes with what was that noise? Yeah, sometimes when you distort sometimes when you distort low stuff, because you've got like certain distortions amplify sort of the harmonic spectrum, so they add certain harmonics in, and if you've got like a harmonic that this distortion is adding, it could be like this perfect fifth away from your root, so like you're bringing up the presence of this fifth until you've got this sort of conflict in the harmonics where you're like, it actually doesn't sound like the note that you're trying to hit anymore if you've over distorted it and you've brought out like the harmonics like so much that your brain now perceives it as like the root note is that harmonic instead of the actual thing lower than it, because you brought it up too loud. That can happen so many times with distortion. The Logic's overdrive does it like mad. Like you put it on bass, and that's why it's good to like sort of do your sort of sub process like separately to your mid process, like, you know, take your bass line and split it like into 2 different channels or 3 different channels and treat them individually. Usually you want like dirty mids and then leave your sub like as clean as you possibly can, because as soon as you start distorting that, you're adding in harmonics to the sound that can sort of start detracting away from the actual fundamental that you're trying to hit. Like sometimes that could be the case with distortion, but
That
it's
was
just
epic.
my experience.
Somebody clip that, please.
Wonderful advice. Thank you.
Very wonderful. What is up, Monar? Monar is in the house. Hola.
Way!
Missing you back in Spain. Before I move on to the next one, I think it'll be fun because I'm in my studio. I'm gonna just introduce gradually all my little guitars and instruments here. So first off is my little red Yamaha. So this one I actually have had the least amount of time, even though it's probably the oldest. My 87-year-old Mexican neighbor gave it to me. He's awesome. I used to just sit out front and smoke, and we used to just chat. And one day he was like, I have something for you. And he just brought this over. So the built-in sounds are actually really dope. It doesn't have batteries right now, but there's this like vibraphone sound. And if you pitch it down a couple of octaves, it's really thunking like FM stuff. So memory of Archie. I think he's still alive, but he doesn't live here anymore. This is the first keyboard. All right. That's guitar 1. Next up, we have J Lotto. Is there any specific feedback requests for that?
How the overall mix sounds, and if it sounds cohesive.
Okay.
The Sunshine snippet.
All right. Oh my God, that was heat. I mean, that's like everything I love about a good piece of music, a good idea. Like, it's simple. It is really simple, but the space that those melodic elements take is so beautiful that it really just carries the whole thing for me. I love it. Definitely, please take it further. You know, expand it. You have a really, really solid, feel good idea, and I'm dying to hear it like fully drop. What do you think, Rich?
Oh man, I really like it. It's almost got that sort of garagey sort of vibe to it, where we've got that sort of really I don't know, those ghost notes on the snares, and like I kind of think they could be exaggerated a little bit more or layered up with something else, where you kind of you're kind of implying the ghost hits, the kind of offbeat like skanks with some other things, like, so you could do some like little reverb shots or something like this at the end of bars to like sort of take it over into the next bar and like keep on flowing. I thought it was a really nice track. I thought it was good. Like just definitely just want more rhythmic development and like just little bits of like pops and shakes and just random like things here and there. I think that could like give it a little bit more ear candy. I thought it was really good though. Yeah.
I like how you're the one using the word ear candy more than anyone else tonight. Clear fan of the show. We love it.
I'm embarrassed now. Thanks. Can't think of a better word.
You're just using up all the ear candy. We'll have to put an ear candy swear jar just for him.
Oh my God.
I enjoyed that one so far.
I tried not to use ear candy on the first track, and then you said it on the first track, and I was like, damn you. You beat me to it.
It had to happen. We had to mention it. So, I mean, I enjoyed that one. I definitely think it should be finished. Go finish it. But I also think that some of the comments here are right. I mean, Ray Spam said, love the chorus, but the transition was a bit too sudden. And the tank driver saying the idea is sick, but for some reason I feel there's not enough space between it. I mean, this is definitely a track where you could sort of almost go progressive with it and get away with it. You know, just sort of have things in, out, and, you know, you don't have to stay the same consistent energy level you've got so far. You can actually add things, cut them back again, add them in, and then build up. You know, sort of rather than having this, okay, we're going to rush it. You're speed running your drop right now, effectively, is what you're doing. And the idea itself is solid enough. You don't need to do that. Like, you know, the verse bits build up or is just as compelling as the drop, which is well, it's a really, really good place to be in, because a lot of people who write songs, and the drop is the most compelling bit, which is why they rush to it, because that's the bit that they really want everyone to listen to over everything else. But your track doesn't need to be like that. I think it works strong enough that you can pace yourself a bit. Let us enjoy what you've got before you really go ham and crazy with it.
Agreed. Next up we have Bible. What's going on with Bible?
Bible.
I mean, they got an exclamation mark in their name, so does that mean it like...
I don't know. No specific
Tiny
comments?
Bible!
Mixing and construction.
All right.
And the name of the title, All I Do Is.
All I do is rolling up another one. All I do is smoke, drink, party, dreams, smoke, drink, party, dreams, one time, let's get dropping, bang, come on, keep moving, rolling up another one.
kick and snare and like that cool bass that you have, and like focusing on that and maybe some like airy noises, but just minimizing to that and taking the percussion out for a second so that it can come back. That's just what I would do, just to give it some more variation. But I mean, your idea is really sick and I love it, and that I love that distortion. I do kind of feel that maybe one other thing to experiment with is, like, I don't know what you're using for side chaining, but adjusting the envelope of that, because you have a really cool swing in the drums and then you have a swing in the filter, but I think that they could glue together even more tightly if you sidechained one with like a mindful envelope that makes it push and pull and tighten it to the rhythm of the drums a little bit more in the bass, if that makes sense. So I would try that just to glue it together, but that's just, yeah, it's a pretty hype track. What do you think, Rich?
I've got one main thought about it, and 1K, I think it's around 1K or 1.2K. There's just a little bit of build up there that's just like the distortion and the drums, like they're mashing together, and just at that 1K they're just poking it a little bit too a little bit higher than I'd like it to be. It's a little bit present just at that one specific point, and I think that does get fatiguing after a while. So just a little tiny bit of EQ at 1K would really like sort of soften, like, or just give everything else a little bit more sort of room to breathe. Because that's what I find with EQ. When you take out the resonance of something, it lets like the rest of the mix become more intelligible. You're not just treating this one sound, you're treating this sound in context of all the other sounds. So like, you know, what do you expect to get from EQ? You want the whole entire mix to sound better, not just this one thing. And I think that's what, you know, you just take out that 1K in either your drums or your distorted bass, and I think you're golden there. It's wicked. Maybe a bit more stereo play. I thought like it's a bit. I think I'm coming through in mono like now, so I didn't actually detect any stereo effects in the track at all.
You shouldn't be getting mono. That's all stereo link.
Right. Okay. Right.
Maybe your internet's decided to die on you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Fair enough. Like
It does. I mean, Video Ninja tries its best to keep the signal going however it takes. So maybe it's just like noob.
Maybe it's just yeah. Okay,
I heard
fair
stereo.
Okay, right. Yeah. And I was wondering about that. I was just like, where? Well, normally I would expect on the bass, like there's a little bit of like sort of stereo separation, so it just feels a little bit wider, and I just couldn't hear it in context. Like, so I was just like, this is definitely mono, isn't it?
Apparently the stream is a little bit unstable too, so maybe
Right.
it's
I
just
think the
generally
stream is fine. I think that Video Ninja, which is the tech that fetches their images from the internet, I think that that's having problems, because I see it too. I think that I'm generally like keeping pace, but occasionally you two lag, and that's it's still an emerging technology, but yeah, they're still here and we can hear you, and hopefully, like, according to my stream, there's no dropped frames, so it's got to be just Video Ninja. But big ups, it's a cool software they've been developing for a while to allow people to connect to each other just using browsers and mics and cameras and stuff. So we think it's pretty cool. But let's see. Let's move on.
I mean, honestly, my feedback with that bit is maybe have some actual filter automation on that screechy wub sound, because it's so constant during your drops that it might be actually fun to sort of have it fade in and out, and have your drums go boom, 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 boom over the top of this.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I tune into the stream, just for these noises. Honestly, it's great. This is so entertaining.
Oh,
this is awesome.
if people keep clipping them, we can make a whole sample pack, you know, just based on this show. I would love that. So next up we have Joe B. Is that the name? Jobby?
Mm-hmm.
And what's Jobby have to say?
I was curious what you guys think about this. I thought, because there was some things wrong with it. What do you guys think I should mix better? This is a project I've made in 18 hours, though, so it might be a little short. And it's called Never Leave.
Never Leave. All right.
We'll never leave you.
You were right there. And even through my struggle, you stand by me. When I was alone, when I felt hurt, You came into my life and I will show you what you want. You love me, you believe in me, and I'll give you my best. And I promise you that I will never leave. Never leave, never leave. Through the hard times, you were right there. And even through my struggle, you stand by me. When I was alone, when I felt hurt, you came into my life and I will show you what you want. You love me, you believe in me, and I'll give you my best. And I promise you that I will never leave. Never leave, never leave, and I promise you I'll never leave. Through the hard times, you were right there.
All right. So, SoundCloud being quirky. Yeah, I'm sorry about the frames dropping or whatever. I'm at a new connection back in my house, and it's supposed to be fiber, but fiber in the U.S. I think is crap. So hopefully it will clear up. I don't know why. I'm gonna have to-
I've got a few things to say about that track, if I can go first, if that's all right.
Please go first.
Right, okay. I couldn't hear any hi-hats in that. I was expecting like an offbeat hi-hat, like... that's I thought there was going to be like... It's like a dance track, and like there's this sort of, I don't know, like mainstay of the genre, and that's that offbeat hi-hat. And I was just like, where is it? When's it going to be? Well, I was like expecting that just to randomly come out, and it just never came out. So yeah, just a little bit of like development on the sort of the white noisy percussion and stuff like would be great, and sort of fill out the track a little bit more. I really like the auto-tune stuff, like actually, and there's that bit just before the build-up where you're using it with the synth at the same time, and I kept on thinking, is there a way that you could blend these two sounds together, like sort of vocode one with the other, or potentially use like, what's that plugin, Morph by Melda, and sort of meld these, the auto-tune and the synth together, so you could have this sort of weird crossing over just before the drop. And I feel like that could be really interesting, because there's this something about the sound that you're using is almost like quite static, because it's got this like long drawn out like note to it, like it kind of, I want some sort of textural variation to it to occur just over the track, like while you're using it. I think just like trying to smash that auto tune in with that synthesizer using something like a vocoder or a morph plugin could be really interesting and give some sort of unique character to the track. That's what I was thinking.
Wow. Good stuff.
Wasn't that Avicii song you remember when you were messing about an Avicii song a while back? I'm pretty sure, and you were like, "Oh my god, there's no hi-hat or something."
Me,
Was
I
it?
was messing about maybe for one of my classes.
Yeah, I
I
think
don't
that
know
was.
what
I
it
can't remember what it
was.
was for. It was ages ago now, but I'm pretty sure. It was one of those things where, once you heard it, you can't unhear it. Or didn't hear it in this case. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure it was something to do with one of the hats
Yeah, I don't know. For
and
me,
not being there at
it was the
all.
synths kind of sitting in a little bit of a strange place, like taking up too much room and being a little too like flat with their texture. I wanted them to envelope a little bit more. So, Alicia's exclusive splice karaoke as effects sample back. Come on, make your own. Are we caught up in the queue? I haven't gotten any more from you, Nathaniel.
Yep. We're up to. We've got a couple more still. We got Blue Rope 14, aka Big Bird Beats next. Sorry.
Can you paste the link?
And
What a name! What a name!
Big Bird Beats.
Big Burge Beats. Is there any
I like
with
it.
thug.
feedback specific requests?
Just want general honest feedback on my creations. And this track is Thuggin'.
All right.
It's probably a cool way of saying that, but I don't know how to say it in a cool way.
Hold on a second. It's gonna call up in the clipboard. SoundCloud being Fitz Fun Self. There we go. design. So the thing is, you've got a cool atonal thing happening, and your elements are like a little bit disorienting in a good way, but I think with atonal, something that goes a long way is doing some enveloping with like pitch, doing some pitch slides, making some things totally unstable, because right now you have a lot of solid notes. They're just sort of out of key with each other, and that's how you're achieving your atonality. But having a few pitch slides, having a few things where it's like not just staying on separate notes like that, but like bending and sliding, I think would give it a cool shape, contribute to the weirdness and things like that. I would also use some filters, like get some timbres going, variations on that, because it's probably, you know, that's meant to have a wrap over it, which is cool, but you can have tiny variations that keep it going even as an instrumental just by varying some of those textures. Like on your lead synths, you could automate filters, like I was mentioning before, Rift or thermal, or there's like just numerous of these like sort of channel strip plugins that you can have now that will allow you to automate things in creative ways texturally. What do you think, Rich?
I thought it just needed a little bit more balance, and I thought some of the sounds were just a bit like not well mixed. That I don't mean that insulting. I just felt like some of them were just a little bit too low in the mix, and some things were a bit too big in the mix. So that snare sounded massive, and then that whoa, the kind of the main like riff. It sounded like a little bit quiet than it wanted to be. It wanted to be in the front and like sort of like comparable like to like the rest of the sort of feeling of the drums sort of thing. So if your drums is giving you that sort of that sense of loudness, you kind of want to sort of match that sort of intensity with that wow. It just sounded like it was a little bit lower than where it wanted to be. And then there was like just steps down in some of the sounds, like maybe they're ear candy, but they were so in the distance that it was like it just felt like there was the mix was like in steps instead of like a really well like balanced sort of thing. And that's sort of my critique of it. I'm really sorry for that.
No, you gotta. We're all here to constructively help each other get the best track possible. You know.
Well, yeah, mixing is really hard to begin with, and like I remember that. So there was a question about like when is it appropriate to use headphones in mixes that I don't think we addressed. But like,
oh no, we forgot about that.
Yeah, no, I tend to find like headphones can be really good for like placement of stereo stuff. So getting your like sort of your feeling of your mix, right, your stereo stage. And also they can help you like stop second guessing the acoustic interference from your own room. So if you've got like a pair of monitor speakers, you might have got them set up in a room that hasn't got treatment. So you're going to have like natural reflections coming in off like the sound just bouncing off your walls. And that's going to like make an interesting sort of, you know, impulse response for your room. And it's going to make it actually harder to mix in it. So like you either become like really attuned to like the nuances of your room, or, you know, use headphones to like just stop second guessing some of like the interference that's happening. Because some of the reasons why mixes don't hit is because you're probably mixing it into the room instead of like mixing it so it will translate to absolutely everywhere. You know, that's what I found very hard when I first began producing. I'd make tracks that would sound good in one place and one place only, and that was the room that I made it in. And I was like, why does this suck anywhere else? Like, it's like, right, okay, I'm mixing into the room instead of you know, actually being aware of what the frequencies are doing in the mix and how they're adding up. And sorry.
No. Natty, do you have any?
Rant mode, sorry.
Love it.
But I think
It's your turn to monologue this week.
Well,
yes.
like potentially, like some of the mixing decisions, some of the decisions in that last mix could be down to poor acoustics. So like it sounds like a good, and it slaps in the in the room, but maybe like there's some sort of interference that's making like you know, either your snare sound a little bit quieter in your room or your drums sound a little bit quieter. So then you're mixing it into that level. But like when it's on headphones or on a different place with like acoustically treated, in an acoustically treated environment, it's a little bit heavy in certain directions, in certain aspects of the mix. Like, monologue over. Sorry.
No, you did good. Thank you.
Sorry.
I mean, I generally enjoyed the atmosphere of that last one. I mean, it's definitely a swaggery hip-hop beat, and that's all very cool and fun. I mean, I find atonal stuff personally quite difficult to write because I'm always ending up just writing riffs on the odds of everything else. So, I mean, it's always actually impressive when someone manages to actually write a truly atonal piece, and this one definitely is in that category. But, I mean, I think if you were going to continue working on it, it'd just be a case of allowing us to appreciate individual elements more. I mean, you can increase the disorientation by removing stuff we've gotten used to, and then screwing around more with the processing on what's left. So, I mean, I think that maybe it's just worth playing around, you know, just for the fun of it. Even if you just revert back to this version later because like I like this more. Sometimes the point where you're like I'm done is the point where it's just say, okay, well, screw the rules. Let's have a version where I just go weird for the sake of it, and then maybe I might come up with something that I can adapt backwards, or maybe this is the new final version. You know, like once you set a thing for yourself, like a line, it can be entertaining to go past it for the sake of it.
It truly can. Next up, we
Especially with atonal stuff as well. You've got like that freedom to just go wild with
Yeah.
it. You could just put any old crap in it. Sorry.
No, I like pitching up and down things that are not pitchy to begin with too. That can be super weird sounds. So, lots of suggestions. Love the vibe though. Next, we have Rave Vic. Any requests?
Perfect name.
No, they don't. But I'm also going to just note that this is an interesting convergence of worlds, because I actually know one of the community managers for this like collective label thing that they're linked with. They're a nice group. If you know the Golden Lotus on Twitter, she's cool, and I'm sure that this track is going to be cool too.
All right.
Yeah.
Everybody drunk out on the dance floor. Baby girl ass jiggle like she want more. Like she would be like, maybe 'cause she heard that rhyme. What I mean, now uses me.
Shall I use the fire God gave me to burn incense all day long? No, thank you.
That is a knocker. That is a straight knocker. That was really, really pleasing to listen to.
Wow.
Really pleasing. And I'm listening with my kind of unadjusted headphones because I was just setting things up and I didn't have time to finish calibrating them. But like even on my thinner favoring upper range headphones, it knocks. So great mix. I mean, I hope that your license to stream this isn't going to get us a strike just because it's released. So usually we don't fight release strikes.
Partica actually do Twitch streams and stuff themselves as part of like community stuff, so it shouldn't cause us any issues. Otherwise, I would have flagged it.
Cool.
Cool. God, I hate that this bandwidth keep.
And there's a couple other projects that are all kind of in this little underground EDM circle, and they all release fun tracks like this. Some of it verges on this sort of swaggery. I mean, it is hip hop, but it's sort of like it's not boom bap or lo-fi or anything like that. It's kind of its own thing because it's got that bass sound design. I mean, it's not wook music either. I don't know. It's kind of. Where would you place this, Isha?
Oh no, this is 100% like American festival stuff. Like this is like I would play this at a show across the U.S. Like hippies at festivals, they love that like little Eastern touch, and then like the hybrid trap thing. This is like 100% USA festival knocker. Actually,
Yeah.
you know, I may actually download this and play this at
Oh,
my next
100%.
festival.
100%. That's wicked.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's part of a compilation or something as well. So, I mean, it's probably worth having a look if anyone in this gets time after the stream. Go check out Partica Group. They're actually quite a good bunch from what I can tell. And
Nice.
yeah, it's Heatwave Volume 2 this one came out on.
Yeah, that's super Knox. I really appreciate the
It
mix.
kind of reminded me a bit of Closey. Have you heard of Closey before? I know you
Isha's
have,
actually
Alicia.
friends with Close.
Yeah, right. I know she, but it's kind of got that sort of swagger to it that's hip hop and the sort of the sampling elements to it. I know at the start of it, I swear it was like there was a Bollywood sample or something that sounded like it was a really dated like
Yeah,
trill
that
from
was dope.
violins or something. That was wicked. All of it was amazing.
I'm keeping that tab open
Yeah.
for later because I got some.
This
got
is the
some-
best thing about the streams, getting introduced to entirely new
Yeah.
scenes and groups of people.
Well,
Can I just say one thing stylistically about that track?
Yeah.
That kick is amazing. I loved how it was like soft and not like sort of kicky and really sort of punching in your face, but it was like sort of nice, well-rounded, sort of smooth boop. Like I loved it.
It reminded
It's
me of a stomp
such
box.
a class. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, totally.
Remember the bar with the guy with the little stomp box and his guitar and
Oh my gosh, when we were promoting for Bristol, you mean?
yeah.
Getting to that pub and just dancing around, stomping and clapping. That was good memories. Next up, we have Lodberg. Any requests on that one, Natty?
Improvements on the structure and mixing.
All right.
When I hear your name, it's not the same. Is it just me? No. It felt so damn real. Was it just a game? Why did we fade like footprints in the sand? Maybe someday you'll help me understand. Are you okay? I cannot ever forget that sunny day we first met.
Oh, nice. Sorry. I'm gonna let Mouldy Soul go first on that one.
Yeah. So the first thing I picked up on that is I think the main lead is a bit resonant.
Feeling like a blood.
Sorry.
Like it's got that nice sort of summery vibe. I could imagine it. Being on what's that program, Love Island or something like that. It reminds me of some sort of summery, clubby sort of track. So yeah, it's ticking the boxes there.
Natty?
I don't know anything about people who are on Love Island, but now I'm just imagining this moment where they go, they do the manipulative music thing in reality TV where it goes all tense strings and then one of them is like, yes, I'm dating you, and then it goes do 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 do. Just I see exactly what you
100%
mean.
it. Yeah. It's 100% it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just outed myself as a person who watches Love Island there, didn't I? Oh, whoops.
I think you did. I think that's what
Whoops.
just happened.
Yeah,
I've seen it a couple
of my
of times. I've seen it
A
twice.
couple of my colleagues were at the weekend. One of them was going like, I was like, "You so seriously watch Love Island?" He's like, "Yes, I'm obsessed with it." And I'm like, "Great, thanks. I have no idea what you're talking about anymore." I don't know you.
It sucks you in. Honestly, you watch like one episode and you're like, "Oh no, I'm immersed in the storyline now. Now I want to see where it's going." Like, and you're mostly just looking at hot people, so it's really easy to watch. Like, to be fair.
That's why people watch Feedback and Friends, to watch hot people talk and make weird beatboxing sounds.
That's exactly why. Exactly.
We've got the same appeal as Love Island, definitely.
Sounds.
As far as feedback on this, I mean, I kind of agree that lead sounds a little bit off, but it's more that I think it could morph towards the actual plucky or either the bell sound, kind of somewhere in between. Right now it's sitting like right in between. And that's fine in short bursts, but I mean, I think that you could actually benefit changing how the actual sound is like the wave of the sound, either towards more of a slightly squarer sound, or change the release time so it's actually cutting off earlier and it's more of a plucky sound. Because right now it's neither, and it's not quite as chill as everything else is. It's kind of like it really wants our attention. When the melody itself is pleasant enough to carry it, I think, where they're being, as you wanted a subtler sound.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, you all made pretty good points. I don't have much more feedback, except I thought that the melodies could be finessed a little bit in some places, like in the beginning especially. Like, there's a way to be happy without being kind of cloying, and I think that maybe just playing with a couple little steps just here and there could have a big difference, and like play with MIDI plugins if you need inspiration, or just try like moving a couple notes up and down and just see what happens. That's all I'm saying. I forgot to keep introducing my keytars and guitars. This is my Vortex, Elise's Vortex 1. It is a wired keytar. It was the first one when it came out. It was the first like affordable keytar because it's only a MIDI controller. It's not like those like giant roll-ins that actually have like, synthesizers in them and are therefore expensive. So I was so psyched at the time that I could actually get something that I could afford, because taking it on tour, it's going to break. So you got to get something that you can replace again and again. And this was like perfect because it was only about $100. And this stayed with me until I got the second one, which I will bring up after this, which is the wireless one. And that's when I started, ripping it, jumping off the stage, stadium antics style. Next up, we have Abel. Any specific feedback for Abel, Natty?
they literally read opinion. Just that one word, opinion.
All right.
I feel you beside me when I close my eyes. Sometimes I feel like I am losing my mind, but I can hear your voice like an echo. Oh, tell me that you will never let go. Oh, don't ever let go. Don't ever let go. Don't ever let go.
was a really, really nice vibe, like a really classic, epic. Oh my God, SoundCloud is not listening to me today. Yeah, yeah. So I'm definitely gonna have to tweak some things with this connection and this setup. But thanks for all being patient. Even my mics are like delayed because I've got this hub going. I just ordered this crazy new hub for my MacBook that like is almost like having another layer to the computer, and I think it will work a lot better than because right now this new one it only has 3 USB-C ports. So running my Stream Deck through hubs means there's like a second to mute and unmute everything. So we're just flying by the seat of our pants. But I want to say I really love the vibe of that. Super, super vibey. And I think that I would just, again, like more ear candy. Because... ear candy. Wow, my graphics rendering is struggling. Damn you, M1. But yeah, I would just kind of, you've got a good main motif, and now like try resampling it. Try doing a couple of little unpredictable moments that will make people crave the pattern to come back. That's really the overall comment I would say. Natty, what were your thoughts?
I mean, I feel like this vocal sample was overused. We're back to something I've said before about someone else's track, where it's like you've got this one sample that you really like, or you paid for that matter, because a lot of people get this stuff off Splice, and you're getting your money's worth. But it's almost like, overused to the point where when you want to have it be the most impactful, we're so used to already being there that it doesn't impact in the way you want it. I mean, mainly around, I think that the place to save it for, like intro it and have it so we've got the idea this is a track with a vocal sample in it, fine, and then just ignore it. Don't add it again until that first big build up, because I think that's the point where you really want it to impact and say, okay, this is emotional, get all the feels now before we go big. Because that's the thing with dynamics as well. It's like, it's not just making sure everything's the right levels and everything's sitting nicely in the mix. There's arrangement dynamic too, and that's something I think this song is struggling with right now. It's the idea of you're trying to give us everything all the time, when you need to choose your moments to really make it count.
Exactly. What do you think, Rich?
I tried to listen out for some reverb on the vocal, and I couldn't hear any. Maybe it's really, really subtle, but just a little bit of space for that vocal would be nice. And some little plays like reverb shots and delay shots with the vocals. So if you could do like, don't ever let go, go, whatever it is, like, repeat the go phrase of it, or like go, then goes into reverb, like, that could sort of, I don't know, maximize your use of that samples, and so you're not repeating it over and over again, but you're kind of gradually varying it with like different echo shots or reverb shots or little glitchy things or something. I don't think glitchy things would fit in that track, so I think something more subtle, like reverb shots or
there's always the deep house approach of pitching down. Don't ever let go.
Yeah, that could work. Like
Hilarious. Oh, wait. Oh, I was gonna.
You've got a good bass voice.
Bass.
I was gonna do plugin of the week, but for some reason your cameras aren't up on this version, which sucks. I'm not gonna do it when I. Servers in the background. No, it's no fun if I can't see you. I don't know. I'm gonna have to update this version before I do it.
You want us to be
I want you to be there.
voyeurs over your plugin.
I just don't like being there alone when I have my friends with me.
We're with you in our hearts.
Well, let's move on to the next one, which is a Sub-Zero, but it's a Ravik track again.
Yeah, well, Ravik is getting a double submission here by accident, basically.
So what's
just
the
because
story between Sub-Zero and Ravik? We want to hear
maybe
some
they're
background.
secretly the same
How did
person.
you meet? Is it the same person? It was featuring Sub-Zero. It would be schizophrenic to feature yourself on your own track, wouldn't it, though?
People have done it.
So any specific feedback or story or anything on this one?
I mean, and just tell us what we think. Tell them what we think.
Tell us what we think. Yes, come play with us, Danny.
got my bitch swaying. She keeps saying the kind of shit I make her do is got her on her fucking knees praying. Quit playing, you just clown chasing. Cause I got the drip shining like I'm Nature Boy, Rip Flair. Before I turn into a Super Saiyan, oh yeah. Pop another sense of beans so I keep swaying. You know what I'm on, just keep accelerating. Whole room peeking, do a leap of levitating. I ain't geeking, I fuck up the scene cause I got to. Lot of dope fiends are worried, ham substance, but got you. Spread both my wings, I'm feeling like a pterodactyl. Back up, muchacho, because it's hit the lotto. Yeah, I'll be on my Pablo, the smarter in the cargo. Can't know the shit that I know. Mi patron es tu capo, si es mi el diablo. That bitch is how to swallow. They follow to perfection, they lack in my direction.
Super hype, another like festival goodness, janky. I mean, I love that. I thought everything sat in a really great place. I thought the effects were great. I don't really have much feedback. I mean, it slaps. Natty?
I mean, I was vibing to that, and I mean, it was interesting that the vocal only really happened once, and then the track sort of kept going. But I mean, at the same time, you introduced something new to the mix, and it was enjoyable to listen to as well. So I mean, I think in this context that works. You don't need to have a traditional structure here. And I mean, this is something I'd blast out on my soundbar and just annoy all the neighbors.
I kept on getting happier while listening to it. I was just like, it kept on progressing, and I was just like, yes, it's getting better, this is awesome. Yeah, I loved all the sounds in it. It's one of those tracks that, yeah, I'd put on really loud and dance around like a goddamn idiot to. I loved it, yeah. Pretty much, yeah. What can you say about something that's like pretty much perfect as it is? Like, you know, I kept on thinking, is there anything that I dislike about this mix? Is there anything that stands out? Is there anything that's too harsh or abrasive? And it's just sounded like really, really well produced music. I'd be really happy if I made that. So yeah, you're onto a winner there.
Yeah, good job.
Really good job. Speaking of not a good job, my Stream Deck is just on a lag, but it doesn't work when I plug it into the other port. So we're a little bit on a lag here.
Well, it's a bit of a quieter night tonight as well, from what I can tell. I mean, lots of people I was talking to as well just generally have been really busy or under a bit of difficulty lately right now. So I mean, my heart goes out to all of you. I hope everything works out and you all get the rest and relaxation that you need. We love you all.
Yeah. Well,
so we actually have a second submission from Bako here.
Bako
because so he's going to start the stream and I guess end it if that's what's ending
I might
here.
play something
Why
near the
not?
end, but yes.
Oh, okay.
But yes, other than that,
But I mean,
Bako Bebizo Part 2. All right, we got a chill night, and then I can get off early and work on fixing my settings with this connection or yell at CenturyLink. Honestly, American internet is crap. So now that I've been in Europe, I'm like, this is just epically terrible. So shouts out to shitty American internet. All right, we got Bako Bebizo driving me crazy.
Catastrophe and everything in between is driving me crazy. My daddy says that men are no good for me. Honestly, I disagree because I can't get over you. I won't lie, no matter how hard I try, I can't find the words, I can't speak my mind. Those eyes, oh, they hypnotize me. Feel like I'm free falling. Just tell me you feel the same.
All right. Really, really nice vibes. I love that like vintage kind of indie feel. I kind of wanted it to have a little more like lo-fi noise in it, you know, like just some texture, some bubbling crackles, and like just to further give you that like coded nostalgia indie thing, because you've got that like I really like everything about that vibe. So the other thing I would say is the vocals are beautiful, really great. I think you should go into the reverb and notch EQ something in like the low mids, because I feel like when the reverb comes in, the reverb itself is nice, but it almost creates a little bit of a resonance in the vocal that takes away from how nice the vocal is. So I think if you notch the reverb in that spot, it'll greatly help. So I would kind of just go through and just use your ears and see if it sounds more pleasant if you notch out a little bit of the mids. But I really like the vibe. Rich.
Yeah, I thought it was a really pleasant track. Yeah. If that I can say in terms of the mix or anything, but I can't really. I thought it sounded really well balanced. I thought it sounded like everything sort of is in like the right sort of pocket for the frequencies. Everything is intelligible. Yeah, I really liked it. I thought like there could be maybe something like a fluttery sort of arpeggiating thing going down, like blah 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 blah. Just some sort of thing towards the end to like round things off, because it's like you've just got the same sort of sounds, like, and I just kind of want something, just a crescendo at the end, or some sort of to bring it down, or sort of just layer something over. And I think maybe like a subtle synth arpeggiator just falling down, like the notes could work quite well. But that might just be a stylistic thing from me, like from what I want to hear in the mix, and it might not be appropriate for the song. You make it your call.
Epic. Natty, any other
They
comments?
said that they were replacing the guitar at some point on this as well. So I mean, I'm wondering what they're gonna doing different, because I mean I don't mind the guitar that's in there as it stands. I mean I think
thought it
it
was
suits
good,
the
yeah.
character of the track. So I mean, okay, that'll be interesting. I mean I feel like as well maybe pay some attention to the outro. Right now it just sort of feels like it stops but doesn't quite ease us out of the vibe that you've given us. So maybe see if there's a way of just sort of gently letting us zone out to the end of the track.
Gently.
So I mean, that's kind of, it's a nice track. I enjoyed it. We ended up getting one more submission in the last call there.
Yeah. We have
So we've got
Fish Memory.
yep,
they have any
aka it's
comments?
Wild Boars on the structure ? Originality ?
It's not the same anymore. You can't go back to before. I shouldn't have trusted you. I realize I'm a fool. Now it's over. It's done. May I ask you, did you have fun? Can't you see it's too late to fix this broken pain? So have you ever wondered if you're going under, baby? So have you ever wondered if you need a blunder, baby? I can't unhear the truth. You're salty, I have sweet tooth. Didn't know it would end this way. But quite frankly, I'm happy to say it's not the same anymore. It's not the same anymore. So have you ever wondered if you're going under, baby? So have you ever wondered if you need a blunder, baby? So did you make a blunder, maybe? Do you regret anything lately? Have you lost your mind completely? It's not the same anymore. You've opened up the wrong door. What was all this for? So have you ever wondered if? So have you ever wondered if you're going under, baby? So have you ever wondered if you need a blunder, baby? So have you ever wondered if you're going under, baby? So have you ever wondered if you need a blunder, baby?
Ooh, I did not expect that. That was so wonderful. Thank you so much. That put a big smile on my face. I love this style. The vocals really, really great. Yeah, I mean, for guitar samples, those are really hard. Like if you don't have a guitar and you're not a guitar player, it's so hard to find something that's as good. But that's like some of the only time I will use loops a lot of the time to just get like a realistic feel, and I'll chop them up and try to make them go melodically how I want them to go. But I'm such a crappy guitar player that like I'll try playing it and then I'll be like, nah, I don't want to use that take, and I'll just redo it with the sample because my timbre and my control is crap. But you're a guitar player, Rich. Play more
A bad
guitar
guitar
for me.
player. Anytime. Yeah, no, I really like that track. The thing that was like sort of stuck out like a sore thumb for me was the amount of reverb or delay on the vocals. I thought it like just ended up getting a bit washy at times, like that there wasn't that same sort of intelligibility. Like maybe it almost sounds like you've just put like a reverb and an echo on the channel where the vocals are, and like just set that, like just left it sort of thing, and not automated them. So like maybe some automation, so like some parts are a bit more dry than others, so you've got like the intelligibility, and then like up the dry wet or something when you want that sort of space reverb type effect. I thought it just got like a little bit, just a tad too much at times, just in context of the thing. And And the only other thing, like, then this is just a structural thing. I didn't think you needed the organ, like, when you first dropped into the track. I thought you could kind of reveal that, like, over time. It seems like you just get given quite a lot of stuff, like, when you're straight into the track. And I kind of wanted, like, a bit more of a reveal, like, if that makes sense. Like, just sort of gradually introducing the sound, so you got, like, that, you know, you're rocking start, and then you get that kind of those Justice like organs, like coming in a bit later. Like, that was my little nitpicking thing.
Natty?
I don't know if any of you ever heard of the act. I think it's Montmartre or something. They're French. They often do a lot of